You're listening to the Like and Follow podcast presented by Milk by Digital.
Welcome to Like and Follow, a podcast exploring social media and digital marketing presented by Milk by Digital. I'm Ben, and on this episode, we're talking about influencer marketing and how it can help different brands and how it all works. Joining me this episode, I've got Maddie, who is probably one of the foremost experts in influencer marketing in our team. Maddie, sort of talk us through what influencer marketing is essentially for anybody that doesn't know.
I would say influencer marketing is basically when brands decide to engage in a relationship with influencers online. So people who generally have a fairly big following on social platforms and have a certain influence over people. So basically, brands choose to do this because I suppose it's kind of a more modern way of like celebrity advertising, whereas traditionally, celebrities would be in perfume ads, or they would, be paid to wear something to an event, or wear a certain bag or wear a certain outfit. Whereas now people can access this content straight away online. So brands choose to engage with influencers for a whole lot of different reasons. And not even just for product placement, but also for hospitality, for creating awareness of certain services, and also, of course, for boosting products.
Do you think this is just going back, you've mentioned that this used to be like celebrity endorsements or celebrity marketing. Do you think that this is just an evolution of how that sort of marketing has turned out?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not really something new. It's been something that's been happening for so long. And you think about what's that really famous soccer player's name? Is it Ronaldo?
There's a whole bunch of soccer players that are really famous, but I would say Ronaldo is probably one of the biggest ones.
He's been used in airline ads. You can Google, he's just been used for almost everything, and people just throw money at him just because, the diehard fans, if they trust this person, if they look up to this person, then they want to buy the product or go to the same place that this person's been to. So it's definitely not, the concept of it isn't a new thing. It's just sort of, using technology to bring the benefits of influencer marketing to even smaller businesses who may not have such large budgets, and also using it for sort of different reasons, I suppose.
So in short, it's kind of like celebrity marketing, just on a way smaller budget, I guess.
Sometimes it still costs quite a lot, but I'd say a lot of the time the production value would be less, because a lot of the time people create this type of content on their phones and stuff like that. But traditionally it would be more, in paid ads or red carpet events, that kind of thing. So definitely most of the time lower budget, but for your top tier influencers, there's still a lot of money involved there.
At what point do you think that an influencer would push the boundary into being more celebrity?
Well, I'd say the line is very blurred these days. You see your online influencers being recognized on the streets. Sometimes people like YouTubers have blown up so big and they have their own events and stuff like that. So it's really kind of blurred the lines, but it's also because people have so much access to this content that there are more people to becoming celebrities, I suppose.
When we're talking about how we can use influencer marketing in a strategy, what sort of things are we looking at before we work with an say we've got 3 influencers on the table, which one would we go for depending on what stats?
It really depends on your objective for the brand, what you're trying to get out of for the collaboration. So, for example, if your objective was brand awareness, so really just trying to push the awareness of your product or service out to as many people as possible. Generally, you would go for the influencer with the most followers in that sense, just because they're pushing that out to more people. So they're reaching more people. If you're looking for more sales, you might want to like go for an influencer who has a really engaged audience, like an audience that really trusts them, really you can see how they're engaging on their posts. They really love their content, so they would really trust this influencer enough to go and buy a product that they're recommending. And then maybe for the smaller influencers, they're certainly very valuable as well. If your client has a lower budget and they can only really do gifting in terms of like a free product or a free meal or free service, then we would generally look for the smaller influencers who still have a really engaged following. Because a lot of the time the smaller influencers do have the more personal connection with their followers, so that can still be really beneficial to brands. So like a lot of the time at Milk Bar, we have reached out to the smaller influencers and they've been really great to work with. They've come into our hospitality clients, they've created great content in exchange for gifting. So there's a whole different like level of collaborations and paid partnerships that you can do.
So what I'm getting from this is that it's not just a one size fits all thing. You can't just call yourself an influencer and ask for the free stuff from a brand or a company. It really has to fit what they've got in their plans.
I think that you have to definitely look at people's niches from, both sides. Like, what are you presenting yourself as an influencer? Like, do you have a following that's interested in beauty, interested in food and health, lifestyle kind of stuff? And then you kind of need to, from the brand side, look at the people that match up with those things, and then also with the objectives that were mentioned before. There's like definitely just not a one size fits all. It's constantly evolving landscape. So you can't just send out a blanket email for collaborations these days. You kind of have to take it at a more personal level.
We saw something recently with Instagram and Facebook of the removing of likes from certain posts. Is there a way that you feel that may have impacted the influencer community?
I feel initially it was kind of a bit of a shock because it's kind of like feedback for something that you're posting. It's good to see like how it's being received from your following, how a post is going. But I think as time has gone, people have sort of stopped measuring their posts in terms of that. I suppose from the influencer side and the brand side, we can still see how the engagement is going. And a lot of the time in collaborations, you will have to send the stats over, or you recommend getting the insights for the posts that go up and for posts that have been posted beforehand. But in terms of everyone else besides the brand and the influencer, it doesn't really matter if they're seeing the likes. If people are still engaging and commenting on posts that they like, and you can still see that, the like number doesn't really matter to those outside of the collaboration. So I suppose it's really just building a transparent relationship with brands and getting sharing the insights and with the brand, making sure you can sort of get a good understanding of like how this will be received from the influencer's audience as well before you step into the collaboration. So definitely asking for a media kit is something we would recommend, which is where influencers will list their engagement rates, average engagement rates, and likes and comments per post. So the brand can kind of get more of an idea of like what kind of engagement the post will probably be getting.
Now, speaking of full transparency, I think it's probably a good time to mention that you yourself, you've been involved in a bit of influencer marketing.
Yeah.
What are your experiences with this?
I've had some really great experiences doing some collaborations, both paid and unpaid. I think it's a really fun experience as an influencer, getting to work with brands you really love, and then like, you know, respecting what you do enough to like actually want to work with you and help you to promote their product. It's been really cool. And with the brands that I worked with that have been really positive, it's always been really clear, like communication, really clear deliverables, and they've sort of not expected too much for too little, which I find I can really like use in like the agency sense, like which I find I can really use and translate across into when working at Milk Bar, working in an agency sense, because you have to understand that the people you're asking to do, the people you're asking to make the content for you, like this is their time and effort, and so it has to be sort of equal value to them. For example, like some brands have come to me asking for like, you know, a 3-minute, 4-minute review video and like all these other deliverables just in exchange for like a moisturizer. And for me to film and edit and post that would take me probably like 5 to 6, even like more hours to get that done. And that's not paid. So it's like, is that really worth the moisturizer that I can go and buy in terms of my time and effort? And I see some influencers do sort of go above and beyond, especially when starting out with lower followings. And I think that's where it's kind of like a blurred landscape, because there's no like sort of guidelines on like when you should start charging and like when you should like ask for more money. So it's kind of a hard one to navigate.
I think it's probably right for us to mention we are recording this over Zoom because we are currently still in isolation due to the coronavirus that is plaguing us here in 2020. How do you feel that this is going to impact how influencers work with brands moving forward? There isn't going to be much of a face-to-face, at least for the time being. Is that still going to be able to have impact with influencers moving forward?
So it's been kind of like a tricky landscape, I suppose. For a lot of collaborations with influencers, there's not a lot of face-to-face anyway. It's a lot done by email or by call. So that's been okay. But it's more in the sense of, well, a lot of my friends that I know who are influencers have lost a lot of work because, of course, the economic impact of the virus has made people's marketing budgets a lot lower. So for the people who do like influencing full time, it's definitely put a strain on their work. And maybe we've been seeing a few more collaborations or sponsorships that aren't so genuine to the influencer, just because they're really having to, you know, bring in an income. They've got to, you know, pay the bills. So if that's the only option, that may be what they're having to resort to. Another interesting thing that I've seen come up in a couple of Facebook groups that I've been in is people complaining about how it's, you know, not appropriate to be showing off their gifted products in like stories or on Instagram at like a time like this, which is really interesting because, well, from like an agency perspective also, when you don't have the budget to spend lots of money on like influencer collaborations, I suppose the first thing you would try to change up would be switching to gifting products and hoping that, you know, if influencers like the products, they might share for free on channels. So I think that's something that's been happening a lot more, is a lot more gifting for free, which we've seen a lot more influencers showing, I suppose, like hauls or gifted products, which I think has kind of been unsettling to some people, like who don't, as like, you know, in a time like this, no one's, as a time like this, it can sort of be seen as like flaunting like free things which other people don't have. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of providing the marketing for the businesses that really need it and are trying to survive during this time. So it's a really interesting, tricky landscape. I think it kind of also shows how important influencers are as brands sort of turn to them during this time.
So in terms of, say, general advice, what do you think is the best way to move forward with influencer marketing?
Yeah, so if influencer marketing is something you want to look into, I would definitely first have a think about what your objective is. Like we mentioned before, do you want brand awareness? Do you want more sales? You have to consider your budget, how much you're willing to pay, and also think about what your values are in terms of who you'll be engaging with. And when you approach influencers, you really need to have a clear brief of what the deliverables are, what the expectations are, and just really clear, concise information so that there's guidelines for them to follow, which really appreciate from the influencer perspective, exactly what you need to deliver, and also from your perspective in following things up and getting the results you're after. That's also really important.
I think it works better for everybody if we're all on the same page and we have very clear set guidelines of what we need to do, what we need to work towards. I think that's a really good note to end on as well. Thank you very much, Maddie, for joining me for this episode. If you're looking to make influencer marketing a part of your social media strategy, Milk Bar Digital is here to help. You can get in contact with us at hello@milkbardigital.com.au, and remember to like and follow us on all the socials at Milk Bar Digital. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Like and Follow.